Hello, everyone. Welcome back to PLG Disruot. We are extremely happy to have with us Bernard Slowey from Salesforce, the VP of Digital Customer Support, who will explain to us how Salesforce actually excels customer experience and what learnings we can take from their practices. Bernard, the stage is yours. Uh,
Great.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Building This Out. We are extremely happy to have with us Bernard Slope. Okay, I think it's time for me to leave the stage.
Is it working okay? You can hear me okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Awesome. Great. Hey, thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. As Lucy said, my name is Bernard Slowey. I'm the Vice President for Digital Customer Support at Salesforce. I'm going to talk to you today about how we deliver a seamless digital support experience. I'm going to talk you through 6 steps that we use to approach it. And hopefully there's something valuable you can take out of that that might be useful for you in your journey. I'm also going to probably answer the question, why support? We're at a product growth session. Why am I talking about support? So I hope to answer that question by the end. I got about 20 minutes worth of content, and then hopefully we can open it up for some questions at the end. So hopefully you got some great questions. All right, so a little bit, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you and gratitude. I know it's late in the day for many of you. I think this might be the second last session, so I really appreciate you staying connected and listening in and learning through this. So I hope there's something valuable you get out of it. A little bit about me. I'm actually month 8 at Salesforce. I'm pretty new in my Salesforce career, incredibly happy to be here. Previously to that, I spent a year at GitHub where I led our digital customer success and support organization. And before that, I spent 14 years at Microsoft where I had a number of leadership roles. I was the worldwide leader for Windows consumer support. So I drove support over 130 markets, about 3,000 agents in-house and outsourced. So if you look at my areas of expertise, strong support delivery, I've spent a lot of time there. I really love that. So a lot of expertise there. But really, my passion is around digital customer support. And what does that mean? It's about enabling customers to self-serve. I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to contact support. They're going to go to Google, they're going to go to YouTube, they're going to search. How do you make that a great experience? And that's what we're going to talk about today. And I think that's a cornerstone pillar in any CX transformation. Hobbies and interests. I love to run where I can find the time. I think to COVID, I certainly started running a little bit more. I like to watch soccer and rugby is what I would say, definitely not playing. And I live in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, so beautiful hiking area where I get the time. But honestly, most of the time is spent with my family. You can see there my little guy Dylan, who's 4.5. That half is very important to him. My wife Laura and my dog Brooke. So that's my happy spot. And as you might have guessed by the accent, I'm Irish, but living in the US for 11 years. So that's a little bit about me. So let's jump in. Let's talk about these 6 steps. So the first step is, what's your why? And what do I mean by that? We spend a lot of time at Salesforce looking at external data, looking to the industry, and I'm going to share some data points here with you, both external and internal. The first one is from Forbes, which is that 96% of customers would leave a company due to bad customer service. 96%. It's a crazy number, but yet when you think about it, it probably resonates with you. You can think about that terrible experience you had and why you might leave that company. In the middle, these 2 data points are from Salesforce State of the Service Report. 91% of customers say good service makes them more likely to purchase. So the flip side, if they have a good experience, they're more likely to purchase. And then 80% of customers say service experience is as important as the product. So when you think about product growth, gone are the days when we could think about support as just a cost of goods sold and it wasn't important. It's a critical element of the product. Your customers think about support as part of your product, and you need to provide a support experience to enable that. And at Salesforce, we spend a lot of time with Gartner. And what you can see over on the right-hand side, this comes from Gartner, that 70% of customers try self-service during their resolution journey. And resolution being, I have a problem, I go try and solve it. But yet only 9% are resolved. And that's a shocking, shocking number. But that shows you the opportunity in order to drive a great digital support experience. And that's where my team is focused. That's where I'm focused. We invested in Salesforce in creating a team to focus really around this online digital experience. So this is our why, right? We looked at the data, you can see where the industry's going, and it's really important to us that we provide a world-class support experience for our customers. The second thing that we did was we went and understood our customer's journey. Now, don't worry, I don't expect you to be able to see the text on this visual. It's more just so you can get an understanding of what we did. But you have to understand your customer's journey today. What do I mean by that? We partnered with a company called Roundfeather, and what they did is they done a full journey map of all of the touch points that our customers have as they get through support. So you can see kind of over on the left-hand side, well, you probably can't see it, it's around self-help, engaging with support, getting into assisted support, going through different tiers of assisted support, going into engineering. It's a very complex ecosystem. And what it showed us was what's the failure points, where are customers having problems? Because if you don't understand the customer's journey today, then how can you go drive a world-class journey? You have to understand what it is. You have to put the time and effort into understanding what it is so that you can improve it. So that's the second step we went through. And we did this work about 2 years ago, 2 years, 18 months ago with this company called Roundfeather. Then out of that, the next thing you have is define your strategy. And our strategy at Salesforce Support is really simple. Easy, low effort and high speed, expert, product depth and user context. What do we mean by this? Everything we do in Salesforce support comes back to this strategy, easy and expert. And it sounds simple, but as we all know, to simplify the complex is not easy. It takes a lot of brain power, a lot of work that goes into it, but we want to have a very simple strategy around how we do this. So I'll give you some examples of what I mean. So easy, low speed and high effort. If I talk about the digital self-help experience, we want to make it easy from a customer to get through self-help to assisted support. Minimize the clicks, don't get in their way, make it easy for them to get to assisted support. We want it to be high speed. We want our page to load fast. We want it easy for customers to experience things. And then on the expert side, if you think about the digital self-help experience, we want to make sure we're providing product depth and user context. So what that means is that if we have someone who's maybe quite new in their Salesforce journey, we want to provide them help and how-to content that's relevant to them versus maybe an IT admin who's very tenured. We want to provide them deep technical content like release notes. So that's what we mean by that product depth and user context on the self-help side. And then on the assisted side, we want to make sure we get you to the right engineer to solve your issue first time. He or she has product depth in that product. So that's what we did. Second was we understood the journey our customers went on, and then we defined our strategy and what it meant for us to deliver world class. The next step is something that my team then did is we double clicked down on this. And what we did was we built what we would call digital support tenants. And you can think about these as principles. Tenants is a word that's often used in the industry. Amazon is very famous for that. And what we have is we have 5 tenants that we look at for digital support. And how I think about this is your tenants or your principles, these are the things that you come back to when you're having the candid conversations. When you're having the disagreements about something that you want to do for your customer, your tenants should center you on how you make them decisions. So the first one for us is this federation of digital channels. And you'll see later on, I'll talk about some of the channels that we do support in. But what we're talking about here is that we connect experiences across the customer's digital journey. So what I mean is we have support available in YouTube. People can watch videos, they can go to our community, they can go to our help portal. And it's important we offer them digital channels, but we want to make sure that the journey customers go through them channels is consistent. It's personalized and consistent through them channels. And how we do that is with the second tenant, which is around guided experiences. And this is about building journeys that help customers to the best asset to solve their issue. And what I mean by asset is it could be a YouTube video that is really good at solving that issue. It could be a knowledge article. It could be a bot. It depends on the scenario. It depends on the topic. And we want to guide the customer to the right thing to solve for that. The third one is around Know Me. And what this is about using applicable data to drive a personalized experience. We all have data on our customers. Obviously, we're all PII, following the PII standards. But things I mean here is that when a customer logs into our help portal, we want to provide them a personalized experience. We're showing them products that only apply to them. We're showing them stages that they're in on the journey on new content that they can go to learn, to understand, to educate. And then the next one is around customers helping customers. We're incredibly lucky at Salesforce. We have an amazing community of trailblazers. And what we've done is we've built out a community to enable them trailblazers to help other trailblazers. And any company, any product, these are the raving fans that you want to engage. These are the people that love your product. And how can you use them to help build up your community, to have your community help community? So that's one of our tenants. And then the final tenant is this slick handoff. So when digital doesn't work, the customer is passed to a support engineer with context. You've all had the experience, right? You've been online, you've looked at some content, and then you went to engage with chat or whatever, or call for whatever that company is. And the agent starts with, what is your problem? It's super frustrating, right? So what we want to do is make sure that our agents get a synopsis of that digital experience that you've had so that they can start with, oh, I see you're having a problem on X, and I see you've done steps A, B, and C, and then they continue the journey, not starting it all over again. And I'll give you one example for me where personally this went very wrong for me recently, and I apologize if there's anyone from Uber on the call, but I had an experience with Uber where I needed to change something on my bill. On the app, they have a bot. It was very, very difficult to work it. It just kept putting me through a loop and a loop and a loop, and I couldn't get to a human. It was impossible to get to a human. I had to go on Twitter. I had to broadcast on Twitter, tag them, and then eventually support engineer engage with me over Twitter. And then I have to explain to them what my problem is. That's the exact opposite of a slick handoff. And that's coming back to them data points earlier on. It certainly put a bad perception for me on Uber on going forward. Okay, so that was the next step around our digital support tenants. I hope this is making sense so far. And as I said, we'll have time for questions at the end. The next thing is enable the right channels for your customers. So what you're looking at here is, you can see from Salesforce, we look from digital support all the way across to assisted. And in digital support, we have our help portal that's on Experience Cloud, excuse me, and that's a mobile first experience. You can see the example of it there in the iPhone. We have Trailhead, where customers can go learn about our products and become educated on them. We have YouTube. We have a support channel on YouTube where we've help and how-to videos. I mentioned earlier on, we have an incredible Trailblazer community where we have customers helping customers. We have social support. We do support in Twitter and LinkedIn. We broadcast content as well as help customers one-to-one. We have phone, we have live chat, and we have online case submission. And so for us, we're a very mature company. We want to be where our customers are. And so we have these support across different channels. Depending on where you are on your journey, you might not need this many channels. In fact, I think sometimes companies have too many and they don't manage them correctly. You might be better off starting with one or two and making sure you're managing them to the level you need be. But the next part, and this is really, really important, is when you have them channels, is you now need to build journey maps. This kind of comes back to them personalized experiences for your top issues. And I'm going to explain what I mean by this. I'm just going to pause for a second and get a little bit of water. So the first thing I would say is personas. Personas are so important. Not everybody who uses your product is the same persona. At Salesforce, we have a set of personas, one of which is this accidental admin, Kathy. And you can see with Kathy, right? My boss asked if I wanted to help with Salesforce. And I said, sure, thinking it would be like a 2-week project. 2 years later, Kathy is the Salesforce admin. So she's what we would call an accidental admin. So what we do is we take these personas. So this example, this accidental admin, Kathy, we look at our top issues in assisted support and we journey map them out to understand the journey that Kathy's going through and where we can drive improvements. So if you look at this journey milestones, we look at what's the in-product experience. So, and I'll show you some examples of this in a second. So for example, is there an error message in the product? What's the solution discovery? How does she find a solution to her problem? How do we give her a solution? Is it a video? Is it content? How do we confirm that solution is working? Does it have a thumbs up, thumbs down so we can know for yes or no that it's working? And then assisted support. How does she go through to assisted support? So we look at these questions. We look at that current customer experience. As I said, we look at in product. How does the customer know they have an issue? We look at the touch points. Is there any in-app self-help options for the customer, right? That experience of, hey, I get an error message in my product and that links to self-help, right? That's the best way to have it. It's direct and in the product. And we also look at the pain points in the experience. And this is a simple smiley face, sad face, and just a plain face. I lost the word there for that, but you know what I mean? And so what we're looking at is this a good experience or not, right? And then we get to the solution discovery and we look at what does this persona do to find a solution? And we know that generally accidental admins like Kathy will start in Google. So we look at Google. How is the SEO for this issue? Is it performing well? SEO being search engine optimization. Is it performing well? Is Google giving the relevant content that we want it to give in its list? And then we're looking at, does the right solution exist for the issue, right? Sometimes we mightn't have a solution and we need to go build new content, new solution for that issue. Does it perform well, right? As I mentioned earlier on, a lot of our content, we have a thumbs up, thumbs down to see is it performing well or not. And then that final step, excuse me, is it easy? Coming back to that easy, right? Is it easy for the customer to create a case? We want to make it as simple as possible. We don't want to hide behind clicks and screens. If Kathy wants to create a case, we want to make that as easy as possible. So there's a lot in this slide, and trust me that journey mapping is an exercise in customer empathy. You got to take a long time at it. We have roles in our team called digital program managers. They spend a lot of time building out these detailed journey maps on our top issues so we can identify where we improve. Okay, so now you've built some journey maps, you've got your channels in place. The next thing, and this is where I find that companies often fail on digital, is how do you operationalize digital KPIs? When I say digital, I mean digital support in this scenario. As I mentioned earlier on, we work with Gartner a lot, and I partner with Gartner, and this came from Gartner. And I'm going to kind of walk you through this, and then I'll go into detail on some of them. So up the top, you have what we call our digital support strategic KPIs. And I'll walk through each one of these and explain them in a minute. But what you can see then in the middle is we have our channels. As I mentioned earlier on, we've community, our help portals, social, YouTube. They're the kind of digital channels that we're looking at. And then down the bottom, you have our content, the types of content we deliver across these channels, whether it's an article, whether it's a video, whether it's a community post, whether it's a social post. And then that yellow line down the bottom, the top volume drivers, journey optimization, that comes back to the previous slide where we're understanding our top drivers in assisted support and building journeys across these channels to get customers to the best solution. So this is the kind of framework at a high level. And I'll talk about the strategic KPIs because what I often find with people, especially in support, they're very operational. There's a lot of metrics for support worlds like average handle time, CSAT, etc. But we don't seem to bring that same rigor to digital, and that's what we do on my team. So what you can see is we have digital CSAT, and basically what we're looking at here is the customer satisfaction, the experience that the customer is having within these channels. Self-help success, this is kind of our Uber success metric, and what this looks at is, and a simple example, if we look at our help portal, we're looking at the customer came to the portal, they saw a piece of content and they didn't create a case. That's deemed as self-help success, yes. And that gives us like a quality metric. And the next one is what we call self-help usage rate. And what we're looking at here is we take the monthly active users of a product, product A, and we look at all of the self-help usage we have for that product, and we're dividing them against each other. And I have the next slide will visualize this a little bit better for you. But ultimately what you get is you get a percentage, like a self-help usage rate, 10%. Why is that important? That gives you a quality metric for your project, for your product. If one product has a very high self-help usage rate and another one has a low self-help usage rate, product A has a problem. Why do so many customers need to go get self-help? They can't find it. They can't understand how to do things in the product. So it gives us data to work with our engineering teams on. And then the final one is around total problems resolved. And again, I'll visualize this in the next slide, but this is looking across all of our channels. How do we show the amount of people we solve digitally? And this is a great metric when you come back to ROI. When you're presenting to C-suite execs and you need to get investment in digital, you can show the amount of people that you're resolving in your digital channels. So that's our strategic KPIs. We do have a lot of KPIs that we manage operationally under each of these channels. I'm not going to go into every one of these in detail because I want to make sure I have time for questions. But just to give you an example, I'm going to pick on the help portal and show you some things we look at. As I mentioned earlier on, we look at our SEO. We have an SEO experience manager. Her job is looking at how SEO is performing. Are we getting people to the right content on our help portal? We look at our authentication rate. If we drive our authentication rate up, more people get a personalized experience. We look at search performance on our help portal. It's a search first experience. We use a partner called Coveo. We look at how is that performing, our customers finding their answers when they search. And then we look at site performance, things like load times, how fast is the site loading. So I'm just going to pause for 1 second and get under a sip of water. So there's a lot in this slide. I realized that, and I was kind of, should I show this or not? But what I wanted to show you was the rigor that we put around digital support. And hopefully there's something for you to think about as you think about your business. But here's a great way to visualize this. it's called the digital support funnel, right? And what you have on the left-hand side is your total monthly active users for your product. And then beside that, you have this self-help usage rate. And this is what I said, if you look at the formula down the bottom, all it is we're taking the unique visitors we have across our self-help assets each month for that product, or channel, sorry, excuse me, and we're dividing it by our MAU. And that gives you a percentage. And then you look at the total problems resolved. All this is we're looking at that self-help success metric and we're multiplying it by our unique visitors each month for that product. And then we look at our case rate, how many customers have to create a case. And again, it's the cases created divided by our MAU. And what you can see you get real clear is you have this visual now of support, right? The amount of customers using your product, the amount of customers engaging with self-help, and the amount of customers drive to assisted support. And we go through this every month. We look at our trends, we look at where we can improve. Okay, so I'm nearly finished. I think a minute or two, I want to make sure I have time for questions. So kind of bringing it back a little bit to where we came from. So 6 steps, be clear on your why. Why do you want to do this, right? Why are you investing in this area? Be really, really clear on that. Understand the customer's journey today. If you don't understand the journey as it is today, then you can't improve. Define your strategy and your tenants, right? When you understand the journey, now build out your strategy and your tenants. Then enable the channels your customers want, right? Again, you might decide you only want to enable 1 or 2. It depends on where you are in your journey. But then number 5 is that persona-based journey mapping. That's a rigor. That's a rigor you need to bring to digital support. And then finally, make sure you operationalize digital KPIs. We have weekly business reviews, monthly business reviews, where we're looking at these KPIs and managing the performance. So the results, how has it gone for us? So we launched our new help portal on Experience Cloud, which is a Salesforce product. Just in August this year, we relaunched actually, and you can see an example of it here. You can see an example of some content within it. We have an 80% self-help rate for our authenticated users. I feel really, really good about that, 80%. We have a 70% decrease in abandonment rate. So we made it a better experience. And with that, less customers abandon the experience. 85% fewer steps to submit a case. Again, coming back to that easy, we want it to be simple for customers to submit a case. We don't want to get in their way. If they want to do that, let them do that. We increased the load time of the site, 39.7% improvements in load times. And we increased our authentication rate by 3x, which allows us to drive that more personalized experience. And coming back to them strategic KPIs, we launched a digital CSAT, a micro survey within the site that pops up moments within the journey. We partner with a company called Sprig to do that. And you can see some of the verbatim, right? Excellent experience, superb, superb. 3.5 out of 5. I don't feel great about that. It's okay, but we want to definitely get up above 4, but we're still early in our journey and working on that. Okay. So I think that was my final slide. A massive thank you. I hope there was something useful in here for you. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to me, give me feedback on LinkedIn, follow me, friend, whatever you want to do. I'd love to hear from you. So with that, I think we're going to go back to some questions.
Hello again. Thank you so much. That was awesome. So we have a question. It's actually talked a lot about the customer journey. You talked a lot about the digital experience. We want to know how product data fit into that inside Salesforce and perhaps how customer support operationalize on that.
Okay, can you just repeat that for me one more time to make sure I answer it correctly?
So with product-led growth, we have a lot of data. The customer journey is revamped end to end.
Yeah.
You mentioned a lot of times about many things about the customer journey, how you optimize that internally. We want to know if the customers, the digital support is actually taking advantage of product data to deliver better insights for the customer journey for the long run.
Great question. Yeah, that's a great question. So the nirvana of a digital support experience is it starts within product. So you have a problem on your product, and it's easy for you to get to self-help within the product, and it's easy to get to an agent or an engineer within the product. You don't have to leave. You don't have to go to Google. You don't have to search. You don't have to go to a company portal. So we partner a lot with our engineering teams, with our product teams around how we build in product self-help. So we look at the journey of, okay, customers are going to a certain place in the product. There's maybe some confusion there. We need to have some self-help content within the product. And so for, customers can hover on a question mark in the top right-hand corner of a Salesforce product. From that, they can get to relevant content for that product. And it can also bring them into assisted support. Now, I will say we've room to grow there. We're looking at how we enable Einstein bot technology within the product. So we can have like a bot interface on certain scenarios, but we do partner extremely closely with our product teams to make sure that product and support is a seamless experience. They're not separate entities. We don't want to show our organizational seams to our customers. So we work very, very closely with them, understanding that data, because that data also helps us understand issues customers are having in order to go create new self-help solutions. Does that help answer the question?
That helps a lot. It clears a lot, some points. Okay, that was the one question. The other question is that you have done so many things internally to optimize the customer journey, to make the digital experience optimal as much as it can be, because it's not always in our hands. After all, we're humans. But
Yes.
how do you achieve alignment with the rest of the customer facing teams or the product teams internally in order to deliver that experience?
That
That
is
would be
that
a
is a
very
great
fair
question.
question.
Yeah, and yeah, for a long time in Microsoft, that's a question I understand very well as well. It I'm trying to find the right words to answer this. It's such a great question because that alignment is critical. Like if you're not aligned across the company with your product teams, your product engineering teams, your other teams, like for example, the team that produces our content, our CXX team is the acronym. They live in our engineering teams. We need to align with them. So for me, it comes back to being aligned at the leadership level. And we're kind of coming back to that slide I showed you on them digital KPIs. Them KPIs, that funnel that I showed you, I present that out every month to the relevant leaders across the different functions in our organization. So we're all aligned on, yes, we're looking at the same KPIs, and we're all aligned that we're bought in on them KPIs. They are the right KPIs to show that we're improving the experience. If you can get that alignment on the KPIs with the relevant leaders, and I do think it's up to the leaders, because if the leaders don't align, it's very difficult for the teams underneath to try and drive that alignment from bottoms up. But honestly, the leaders need to align at the top. But you have to align around them KPIs. If you're not measuring the same things, or you don't agree on what you're measuring and you have different KPIs, you'll never ever be aligned. Now, of course, they'll have unique KPIs for the things they're doing in their businesses, but you want to make sure that they understand and are bought in on your KPIs.
And okay, I think that the next question that would resonate here is what about when you have many different KPIs? How do you actually align those to begin with? I mean, okay, custom digital support, customer success, sales, they have common touch points. However, this is a tad more difficult when we talk about the product team or the engineering team. Where do you begin
Yep.
to put that together as a foundation, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, I think the foundation is MAU, right? What monthly active users, right? Like for at least, at Salesforce, right? Like at all companies, you're trying to grow the active usage of your product, right? Like that's the primary, whether you're sales, whether you're engineering, whether you're support, the primary metric that it all comes back to is, are customers using your product, and are more customers using it month over month over month? So you start to see that growth. And then everything that you do comes back to that. It's kind of like that funnel I showed you earlier on. I don't have a metric for MAU. That's not sits within my organization. Like you talked about it, there's customer success teams, there's sales teams, there's engineering teams. But we can show data on how, if we drive a really good support experience, like the CSAT is 5 out of 5 stars, that influences the MAU. It comes back to the metrics I showed from Forrester, from Gartner. If someone has a very bad support experience, they will leave your product, and then you lose a customer, right? And who knows how many more customers you lose after that. So we don't have to necessarily have the same metrics. We each have our own metrics within support, success, engineering, but we all are marching in the same direction, right? We're all marching on how are we helping to drive that product growth, and how is the business that we're doing impacting that. And all of the other teams understand the importance of support and the importance of customer satisfaction and the impact that can have on your MAU.
Yes, I think this is a good foundation to begin with, and we will have to wrap this up because we have our next session coming forward.
Great.
I want to only thank you so much for sharing these tremendous insights with us today. We're really looking forward to the next session to arrange it soon. And I think that this time it's finally to close it. Thank you so much again for joining.
Thank you.
And to all of you, our next session is on Product-Led Engineering Foundation, hosted by Jordan Kolaropoulos. Please stay tuned.